All right, I think we're getting started on the live now. So I want to thank you, Michelle, for joining us a
Thank
second, yet a third time. We had a test in between, and certain software stuff doesn't work well. But Michelle, I want to say thank you for your patience.
well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited about this live. We've been, trying to make it happen for a few weeks now. So I'm excited to be a part of the Troy show.
Yeah, it's really cool because one thing that you do that helps people like me and solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and probably companies of imagine a certain size really need to help, and a lot of those things are just set up properly, mindset, and I'm sure we'll get into it. So before we start, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know that you started speaking on that you had a long career in nonprofits and stuff, but can you tell me what kind of coach you do, what kind of clients you're helping, and just a little bit about yourself before we get started? Because I don't want to talk about me because I talk a lot, so so it's not about me. I'm kind of a LinkedIn nerd, so I really want to dive into what makes you tick and who you are.
So I am a business coach and strategist, and what that means is I help specifically coaches or aspiring coaches design their signature program. And I also work with some consultants as well. And a lot of the time, what happens is people kind of come in and they kind of get locked into the one-on-one, and then they,
Hmm.
kind of bounce around to different types of models within their overall coaching business. And
Hmm.
so I help them kind of streamline everything, create their signature coaching program, their
Hmm.
high ticket signature coaching program, because you
Hmm.
you want to make money,
Yeah.
and so
You want to avoid some of the tire kickers, I imagine.
correct, yeah.
Hmm.
So my clients are predominantly people that they're either coming from a professional career, or they're, looking at what's next in their lives. So, um, I've worked with, let's say, an insurance agent that wants, I'm sorry, he owns an insurance agency, and he's
Okay.
looking at what's next for me.
Hmm.
In 5 years, I want to retire, but I have all, 30 years of knowledge I need to lay out. I don't want to stop working, but
Hmm.
I want to coach others. And I've been doing it all this time. So we worked on, putting his program together.
Hmm.
Another professional I've worked with is, a principal the list goes on, but the
Hmm.
principal, again, she's going to retire.
Hmm.
She's approaching her 25-year mark as
Oh,
in education. And so now she's looking at what's next for me, and
right.
she has all of this knowledge. So, I help people tap into what is it that's their strength, because it's easy to kind of fall into the trap online and coach based on what you think is going to make you the quickest buck. And
Right,
we see it
right.
all the time, and people, they forget about their own strengths. And for me,
So they become more commercial than not really developing an authentic
correct.
strategy for the long term.
Correct. And so,
Mhm.
and just because you have a signature program doesn't mean you can't build out, other aspects of your business. You can
Yeah, things
have,
change. Things
yeah,
change after a while, depending on what. For me, it's what the clients are really needing. You know.
I'm glad you said that, because one thing I'm noticing, and a lot of programs neglect to do that, and that's why I'm not a fan of courses either,
Hmm.
is, people want that personal touch. And
Hmm.
when I look at, my client list or client roster, they're all people of a certain age that have life experience, have career experience. And I think, as you want that extra support, especially when you're doing something new. So
Well,
in
I think these high ticket type of services require that personal touch. That's really what they're paying for. They're
correct,
paying for
some
the
of them.
engagement. Well, but yeah,
Mhm.
but they should be paying for the actual engagement. And we do business with people, not with androids, or whatever. It's a bad.
Right. There's a lot of programs that they, are charging, in the upwards of like 10,000, 10 grand.
Hmm.
And their idea of personal touch is, I come on live and you let me know if you have a question. And
Oh,
so, and those type of programs don't work for me. I
yeah.
want someone looking specifically at my business
Yeah.
and telling me specifically what I need to do. And so I think that's what sets me apart. It's what sets you apart from other coaches, is that we actually dive into the business. Now, and it's that personal touch that you need, because generic information has never helped me grow. And
Yeah. And then, how do I say, as adults, courses are great for an extra thing, an extra bit of knowledge, but for it to be the end all be all type thing, it's not the best. I have a whole series of courses myself for LinkedIn, and I give it away on my programs as a just an additional value add. I don't make it as a major revenue stream. I do this because I think it's valuable within the context of the program. No.
and that's a wonderful way to use, courses, to
Mhm.
kind of add to the value you're already delivering in your coaching program. But to just sit down, watch some videos, I always was like, what's next? And I got all the information in the course probably,
Mhm.
but I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I have all this information now, what do I do next? And I think, that, so part of the strategist, in the business coach and strategist title is, to help people strategize in terms of what's next. So in terms of my career, prior to becoming an entrepreneur, I was a nonprofit manager for 16 years. I was in the field for 20 years. I don't want to give away my age or anything,
Well, I'm
but
older. I got gray hair, so I'm older than I look.
my
I
gray hairs just died.
Oh,
So
really? I have to dye my hair then, but
no, you're fine.
yeah.
So I spent 16 years as a nonprofit manager, and what I did is I developed coaching programs for our clients. I developed, kind of that intensive programs. A lot of the
Mhm.
populations that I worked with ranged from domestic violence survivors, sexual assault survivors, formerly incarcerated individuals, people that are,
Well,
you
that's
know,
much different than the business
chronically ill.
coaching and consulting that you're doing.
Actually, not really, because when you think
Really?
about it, let's say someone has a chronic health condition and I'm
Uh,
designing a program, a coaching program, because those people need one-on-one attention, right?
oh,
How
okay.
to get better health outcomes.
Oh, so you're just creating a solution and connecting the dots for allow them to have an outlet towards success.
Correct. And so
Mm,
all of those programs I would build in, of course, and most of the programs I developed, I also ended up kind of overseeing the program and the implementation of it as well.
mm. So
So
there's a huge accountability portion.
correct. So my
Yeah.
last position, I oversaw the case management services for probably 850 to 1,000 clients, as well
Wow.
as the team that was, on the ground
Hmm.
providing the service. So
Well, it does
yeah,
sound like you know what you're doing then.
yeah, I should hope so. Yeah, so a lot of it's not a far stretch, and I think we kind of get caught in that when we come from our professional career, we think we got to learn something new because
Hmm.
we don't know enough. Oh, love the car.
Oh yeah, that's not my car. That's a newer version of my car. I clicked the wrong. There you go. It
There
doesn't
we go.
work as swiftly as you think. Like, oh, where'd the spreadsheet go or the PDF? Yeah, that is an Infinity. I have an Infinity, but mine's the last year. And I was mentioning that I was doing work. So speaking of online courses that you mentioned, like little short videos, I think that stuff is good to learn how to do like something. Like,
Basic things,
yeah, I was just like,
yeah.
how do I? Because I'm a custom car guy, obviously, and so I have a Infinity Coupe, and I don't want to pay other people to do certain things. And I said I got a Saturday free, and so I figured out how to replasty dip my logo to black out my logos. I'm talking French, of course. You don't know what I'm talking about. And I got these white bulbs, and I'm like figuring out how to do stuff. YouTube, it's like I don't know how to. But those are very concise things. And
Right,
to really understand what you're doing, you need more of a deep dive, which is a different mechanism. I would imagine you may have some of the same obstacles as far as finding the right client as I do,
right,
because very few are qualified. And the people will say, "Oh yeah, anyone can do it," and the truth is, no, I don't think anyone can do it. You have to show up. You actually have to do what needs to be done. For my stuff, and I think, I know I'm not going to speak for you, but I believe our type of worker is hands on. Like they have to know what they're doing. They have to have their hands in the cookie jar, and they have to kind of build those relationships in order to, for me and for my clients, in order to help them convert. For you, in order to keep their programs. I would think if you don't have that personal engagement, you can have great signature programs, but you won't be able to keep any clients, because they're paying X amount of dollars for a certain result. And if they're not actively implementing certain things, and there's not that human interaction and that accountability, it's really hard to be successful in whatever area you're in.
right. Can you imagine someone taking a course? They're trying to create this program on their own, and it is you have no one to bounce ideas off of. You don't have a mentor. You don't know if this is transformational enough.
Hmm.
You don't know how to put the pieces together. It can get, it's challenging. So that's why I not just, mentor people along, but I also offer like laser coaching sessions, for some of my programs where, let's say there's an implementation period. So let's say you work with me and now I kind of release you.
Hmm.
Um, I found that a lot of my clients were struggling with that release period, the release
Oh
period.
yeah, yeah. So you're
Yeah,
referring to as very specific, either weekly or monthly or whatever it is, to just get you back on track or
right. So
solve specific issues that are coming across at certain times.
correct.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. You're constantly getting stuff done, and having that coach allows you to step back and take a look at it, and it's amazing. One little tweak could be the difference between being ultra successful and barely making it. It's a
Absolutely, I
huge
agree.
difference. And a
Mhm.
lot of it's just a slight mind shift and one or two kind of shifts and stuff. And I make adjustments every 6 months, 3 to 6 months. I look at this, I reevaluate this. I said, is this relationship working? Is this working out? Who do I need to talk to? And who knows more stuff than me? You know,
Mhm.
I'm pretty smart, but I'm not. I'm not like all knowing. I was a programmer. I was a designer. I had my own IT shop. We did gamification and all this other stuff. And the biggest thing that I realized is that I don't know everything, and I don't want to know everything. To be honest with
Yeah.
you, you know. But this is what you're all about, is kind of making things happen. And I think we broke this out into 5 different areas. And so you really help people develop their first high value signature program, and without being overwhelmed or having a lot of confusion. And do these programs usually have a high and low, like a high ticket and then a downsell, or I don't know what you call it? Because I have kind of two of those, but mine aren't. The lower one is not really a downsell; it's almost a different thing, you know. So I have coaching for 6 weeks, but then I have a done for you slash with you, and you can move from one to another, but it's not necessary. Just having one doesn't mean you need the other.
Right. Well, when I work with my clients, we come up with what their signature program is, but we also talk about the future of their business. Because if they're new to coaching,
Hmm.
then they don't know, the other legs of their program. Yeah, I have this wonderful signature program, but
Hmm.
what other services can I add? And so we look at all of that as well. And if you're already a coach and you're trying to look at how you can grow your revenue, high value programs are definitely something you want to incorporate into your business. And so I help existing coaches as well kind of streamline their different services, because a lot of times,
Okay.
yeah,
So when I say I have two products, you referring to those as services.
correct.
Got it. Got it.
Hmm.
All right. I'm a little slow sometimes. So.
Have you had your coffee yet?
I don't drink coffee. I love the smell of
Oh,
it, but I'm sorry. It
mm.
tastes like dirt water. I can't do it.
Oh, well, I guess I have my daily dirt water then. That keeps me
Yeah, yeah.
functioning.
I will have a Mountain Dew. Probably it's like my worst sin,
Loaded
Um,
with sugar.
yeah, yeah. So I'm actually gonna cook for lunch, because my daughter doesn't like some of my cooking. So I said she's not gonna eat this for dinner. So I have the meals to come in, and I'm gonna make a hamburger and get some nutrients and all that stuff afterwards. So going right on because I babble a lot. We have the I'm sorry, I'm trying to move this window out the way here. Um, the first thing you wanted to talk about, I think, is messaging,
Right.
and I think you mentioned when we're putting the slides together that their messaging doesn't match the service or whom uh, you want as a client. What do you mean by messaging specifically?
Your message is, what you're communicating to the world.
Hmm.
So whether you're using LinkedIn to communicate,
Hmm.
whatever platform you're on, that's one form of messaging. Another form of messaging is what does all of your website and everything say about what you do? A lot of
Mm.
times, I kind of, I can't help myself. I kind of look at what people say they do, and then and it doesn't match what they talk about and what
Oh,
they're communicating with, to when they do their lives, when they're just posting, and it's like, okay, I'm confused because I'm not sure what they
right.
do.
So do you
And
think the
so,
biggest problem is they hire someone that creates a resume formatted type of thing and they're not really putting thought into who their ideal audience really is and who they want to be presented as?
right. And I think it's a couple of things. I think
Mm,
one is a lot of people start off and they don't know the value of having a coach help
mm,
you refine your messaging, because it's easy to come into business, no matter what you're selling, you think you're selling to everyone, and that's not the case, especially when you're talking about online, because people can't come and browse. They can come and browse your website, but
mhm.
it's really just what you show online. That's
Yeah,
all
on
they
a
have
consistent basis, yeah.
on a consistent
So
basis.
it's your
That's
flavor, your message is your idea, your presence, branding to a smaller extent.
right. And
Uh-huh.
even with your branding, is like, what is your brand voice? What are you known for?
Hmm.
And people need to think, what do I need to be known for?
Right.
And if I'm known for business coaching and strategy, and all of a sudden I'm, talking about health outcomes, that would be a little bit jarring for your audience. And so when you're talking about
Hmm.
building out your services, whether it be a high value program or even your lower tier services, you need to think, what is your message? Because your overarching message as a professional service provider needs to coincide with the services you're providing and everything you communicate on the platform. I always talk about the example when people are, they're saying they're a coach or they're a business mentor. There's so many different terms, and they post plates of food, and it's not even appetizing looking food, but they post plates of food.
Someone has a
they
preference.
Yeah, they
Your
post.
food is not that great anyway.
Yeah, they post things that really, and I'm just using that as an example, but they're
Yeah.
posting things that really don't coincide
Yeah.
with,
Well, it takes a while too to get a good feel for what you want to
it
present,
does.
and even me, like today, I just saw something that was hilarious, and I wanted to put it on LinkedIn, just because it would make people's day go better. And it's really nothing, but but I do have a strategy. My Mondays is like keep it real,
Hmm.
and my thing says this, and I post it on the thing that says this has nothing to do with business or LinkedIn, or does it? Because your mood makes all the difference. So I'm giving some good advice, although we have this person, and it's a big bumblebee costume, and I don't know if it's one of those restaurants that I don't know what it was, but and the person was doing a sexy dance, right? It's just really stupid. I said, yeah, I'm gonna post that on there, and that's what my biggest oddity,
And there's
But I
nothing
always
wrong
tie
with
it
that.
back into thought process, mood shift, to be more positive, and it all has to do with being successful, on LinkedIn for me. So
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think people they don't take the time to understand what their messaging is. They don't take time to develop a strategy. And messaging really just comes down to you sitting down and thinking about what message do I need to communicate? What are the pain points of the people that are my target audience? And a lot of people don't even know what who their target audience is. They haven't defined it. They don't know
yeah.
who they're talking to, and so their message is missing the people that they want to work with the most.
Yeah, so how do they achieve? I'll tell you how I try to achieve some of this is I take the client, I slow them down,
Mhm.
and I say, here's a form, and it's going to take you an hour and a half to fill, and it's going to be pretty painful. And so these questions really kind of draw out a lot of the things that who they are, what they are, or whatever. And then I have a meeting with them and I go through it and I say, well, is this really your audience? Is this what you're doing? Is this what you are known for? And and fill in some of those gaps where they have an identity that kind of makes sense.
Right,
And within that, the context of that information, I'm able to kind of redevelop their like LinkedIn profile to draw in that audience. And once that audience is specified, finding it's much easier,
right.
and then you're more in alignment. How do you um, pull that information from a potential client in order for them to be a little tighter with their messaging, their target market, who their audience they're serving, and who they are?
I have a similar process, and it's a questionnaire, and then I also have there's one program that it's the questionnaire first, and then we have a one-on-one meeting
Right.
because we can't work together. I can't work with you as your business coach if I don't know anything about your business. And
It's amazing if you are good at what you do, you can fill in the gaps.
right. And so
You
a lot of times people are just struggling with, you can't just be a health coach. You can't
hmm
just be a business coach. Like who specifically are you helping? And
hmm
so I help them really dig in
hmm
with that initial meeting. And based on the questionnaire that I have and the initial meeting, we get into like who exactly, they want to help. And that's where you have to tailor your messaging because for example, if I'm a health coach and let's say I'm struggling with diabetes and everything you share is about people that are struggling with, I don't know, gout or some other unrelated health condition, and that just popped in my head. That's not going to connect with me.
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
messaging is just going to miss me.
yeah.
And so I make
There's
sure
definitely
with
a delicate balance with the postings and getting inspiration, mindset, just to get that movement going, to keep in line with your particular audience. And then sometimes you will have things that just aren't as interesting. So not having a million followers or a million likes is not really the worst thing. You just got to hone it in, and then that way the right audience can eventually see some of that stuff. And the algorithm for LinkedIn, and I don't know other social media platforms very well, so I know that you do TikTok and all that. So I don't even.
Oh no. One thing I do is I develop a strategy for my marketing,
Mm-hmm.
and I make sure that I have to think, where are my clients?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
Use a one
so
plus one method where you have a main and maybe a secondary 15% of time.
correct, yeah. And
Hmm.
so that's going to shift. And I think the shift is happening based on the shifts that I'm making. Some of the things that I've shared with you,
Hmm.
that are on the way, so to speak.
Hmm.
So I'm definitely shifting more to LinkedIn.
Hmm.
But definitely you need to have a strategy, and I think it needs
Yeah.
to consist of more than one platform, simply
Yeah.
because if a platform goes down, something happens, you get banned or kicked off. And
Oh yeah, and you can easily get in trouble by accident. One time they shut my account down because I was traveling. I
and
was
this
like, "What? What? Why? Why did you cut it?" Oh yeah, we didn't realize it was a coffee shop and someone logged in. I said, "You think someone's gonna magically do a mean post?" I mean, what was it? What was it? It took them like 3 4 days to put it on. They needed my ID and everything, which I thought was ridiculous. But I said, "Well, yeah, I travel." I'm like, "Yeah, I travel sometimes, so I will be on the road." Do I have to, like credit card companies, you can tell them, call them ahead of time and
Mhm.
say, "Hey, I'm traveling so and so, don't cut my card off."
Yeah.
But it ain't nothing like that on LinkedIn. So you kind of at the mercy of what they do. And then some of your posts do super great, and then sometimes they don't. And so I tell everyone, don't be discouraged. You know.
And
I,
people have to remember too that they don't own these platforms. Your goal
mhm.
should always
Mhm.
be to move your followers into subscribers on your email list, and where you have more control over them. Even text messaging, SMS text messaging.
Oh yeah, that's
There's
big now. Yeah.
Yeah, there's more than one way to build your community, and you have to make sure that you are not just running your business off of social media or any platform, because if that platform goes away or something happens, you lose all of that and you have to start over. The one thing I also want to say, a moment ago, we talked about, having that critical time to nail who you're talking to, who you're speaking to, and your messaging. I also do that with my group coaching program as well.
Mm.
So, yeah, I work with people in a group, but I still incorporate one-on-one sessions. I'm not about having the volume. I'm about having the impact when it
Mhm.
comes to working with, the people in my group coaching programs. So that is, I think, really key, because it's hard for me to
Well, it
help
makes you
you.
more exclusive for one, and number
Mhm.
two is how many clients do you really need to pay the bills? I mean,
Right.
I mean, yeah, if you as a coach, if you're pulling in, and it's just me, but if you're pulling 20K a month or whatever, you're making, like a quarter of a million. And what's the average salary is 50K, or I don't know what it is, 40, 50K. That means you're doing 5 times better than the average. You're living a good life, unless you live in LA. That's a little rough, you
Or
know.
New York, where I'm
New York, yeah,
at.
yeah, that's different. So, but in a lot of places you can live very well for with that kind of money and help a lot of people. And so after a certain point, it's just if you want to do those 80 hours or a week, or you want to scale super big, then so be it. But I don't think it's always necessary. It's who you're serving and making a difference to the people that you're communicating with.
And that kind of leads us into number two, which is client results. I
Hmm.
I want people, and I think this is, I want people to have the results. And so that's why I
Hmm.
make sure, I see what I can incorporate, how I can connect with, the people that I'm working with, so I can better help them better understand their business. So I'm not giving this generic
Hmm.
advice about how to
So,
grow their
so tell me
business.
about client results. What's a good client result? I know it's across the board, but
Mhm.
for me, for example, I say, well, if I get one of my flagship programs a month or equivalent money to that, I'm pretty happy because it compounds every single month. So you got another one, and your numbers get up higher. And so I just need to sell one or two a month, and that's successful to me because also it takes a lot to onboard someone and to work with them. So it's not I can't handle 100 flagship product clients at one time because it's not a push of a button. It's a very custom type of
Mhm.
deal.
So when you're talking about client results, this is the results that you plan to get for your client. So when you're thinking
Oh, I'm
about
sorry. I
high
was
va-
reversing.
when you're thinking about high value services, you have to think, what is the transformational journey? What is the journey that I'm
Mm,
taking my client through? So
hmm
what is their starting point? What is the whole reason they sought me out to begin with?
hmm
And when we think about delivering results and thinking about high value programs, people are not coming, they're not coming to you for and to pay high value prices for small problems.
hmm
And so I always use the example of my
mm,
daughter. My daughter suffers from pediatric migraine. So she gets these excruciating headaches. And so I'm going to use, headaches as an example. So if someone, is having a headache, and so if they think they can maybe get in the shower, get some steam, take some Aleve, and the problem will be gone, then they're not really going to pay a high, value or a large amount of money, or they're not going to purchase a high value program to solve that
hmm
problem. But if I'm suffering every day and I can't get
hmm
relief and I'm trying to figure this thing out,
It's a real problem that's
urgent,
yeah, I was gonna use the word chronic.
chronic, urgent,
Yeah,
depending on what
yeah.
you're
I'm
providing.
chronically broke and I I need some money.
So let's say, someone who, it's an urgent matter for them. So let's say I know I'm going to take a leave, I'm going to, get in the shower, but my quality of life is still diminished once I do all
Yeah,
those things. I'm not getting better.
there's positioning that you have to do. For example, it could be sleep longer or get up earlier, eat normally, diet, exercise. It could be a lot of little things like move the phone away from your phone away from your bed, and have a nightly routine, and things like that will definitely reduce the pain and increase the productivity. And so
Right.
you're not just addressing the symptoms, you're adjusting your life to make your life easier for yourself. And pain is change is painful, because your brain is used to protecting yourself, and your brain does not like any kind of change because it's foreign, you know.
Right.
I don't know how we got on that subject on the client results, but
But
yeah. So I was talking about results for me as a client, but you were talking about when you're helping someone and
correct.
the results for their clients. What are their transformations in their life or business or whatever they're trying to do for that program?
For that, yeah, for your
Hmm
clients, what is the reason? You have to think, what is the reason
Yeah.
they're coming to me in the first place, and what is it that they're going to leave me, what, how are they going to leave me a better, changed, better, what it, so and everything in between. So when you're designing your coaching programs, and probably the reason that people don't reach their profit potential is they don't have a process in
hmm
between, what happens in between. So person comes to you, and you have to know what problem you're solving first off. So
hmm
that goes back to the messaging. So you have to think, why is this person coming to me in the first place? And how am I transforming them? How am I solving their problem? And you need to be able to identify their journey from how they came to you to how they're leaving you. You need
Yeah,
to be able to
I
identify
should have
all those
read this
pillars.
before number two before I was talking because I actually wrote it. It was like a week or two ago. Like I can't remember
Oh
like
no, it's
after
fine.
last week, so
Yeah,
I'm
so you
just
just,
rolling with it.
yeah.
So
It
number three, selling versus relationship. So the another major issue is you think you're selling products and services. That's not the case. And I wrote selling versus relationship, so I think I wrote that part, and you had the second part. So tell us about the big defect or defunct, yes, defunct in this particular scenario.
So you remember I gave you the example? Like, I thought my role was to just post what I sell. And I see this all the time, whether it's real estate agents,
Yeah.
everyone, they just post what they're selling. And you have to keep in mind that people are not always in the market for what you're selling.
Right.
And that is why you want to focus on the relationships with people, build relationships. Stop trying to, hop in people's DMs and sell them stuff.
Yeah,
They're not, it's a
you
turn
want to
off.
plant an idea of who you are and why you are
Right.
for the long term.
Correct.
So when it comes up, they naturally gravitate towards you. So you have this
Absolutely
long like
correct.
timeline of
Hmm.
whatever, say a year or 2 years, whatever it is, and the chance of them actually needing your services is pretty low. But the chance of them taking their services on the exact time when you DM him is even lower, and it's
Right.
extremely annoying, right?
And that's why it's so important to have, clear messaging and to speak about, you know, thinking about your target audience, speak about their pain points
Hmm.
and deliver value, and they'll remember you. The other thing I want to say, in regards to selling versus relationship is, when we're thinking about, our services, we just think of it in terms of products, and we need to be developing offers, because anyone can sell a product or a service. You have one, probably millions of
I'm so
coaches
sorry to
that do.
interrupt you. You have product, then you have an offer. What's the difference?
Yes. So, when you think about a product or a service, like everything that we do, millions of other people do it, right?
Hmm.
So no, we're not selling anything unique. What makes us unique is our offer and what we have to bring to the table, how we deliver that service. So remember, earlier in, I was talking about my programs, and I like to have that implementation period with my clients.
Hmm.
So, especially when
Yeah.
we develop a program, I want to
You
make
get a
sure that you
rapport,
don't.
and then you have to onboard them, and then, yeah, you do a deep dive.
Right. We do a deep dive. I deliver the service because I have an intensive coaching session too, to help people depending on what their needs are. And then we have that implementation period. So I don't want to build out a 6-month program, or help someone build out a 3-month program, 6-month program, 12-month program, and say, okay, good luck with implementing it.
Yeah, give them high five.
No, right. So I want to help them create an offer, because we're not just selling products and services. We're selling, transformations. We're
Mm.
selling, what people, the after
So
effects.
offer is the more of, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just kind of new to this. The offer is more of the personalization of the transformation.
Personalization of everything you deliver. So let's say my group coaching. So we have tons of people that provide group coaching
Hmm.
services, right? And so if I want a group coaching service, maybe I'm going to add into my program, I'm going to add one on at least one on one, or maybe, I actually provide three if it's
Hmm.
for my 3-month group coaching program, so that I can help you personally. And so
Mm,
that's
okay.
part of my offer. Not everyone's going to provide that.
Okay.
I
So
provide.
it's a unique portion, or something that you go above and beyond, or it's an added service that adds to the personalization or customization in order to convert, to help them to be more successful in what they're
Right.
doing.
You're adding value to their life. So you
And
have to
not
think.
value to us, value
Mhm.
to them. And that's
Value to them.
it's a
Hmm.
huge thing, because um, a lot of people saying, "Oh yeah, I'm providing value." I said, "No, you're providing spam."
Yeah.
They don't know the difference. It's like, yeah, I did this stuff. I see you got your logo everywhere, and you're talking about. It's just like you're just advertising your stuff. You're not really offering any kind of value. It's like, do they really want to see that? You know, are they really thinking that right now? Is it a aha moment for them? No, it's not. So a lot of times they're just not doing the right thing to personally engage and personally connect with someone. You know.
And
Um,
then, yeah, and another thing I do, I have a podcast, the Boss Experience, DA, Boss Experience. And
oh yeah, I was on one of them, right?
yeah, you were my special guest. And that's
Yeah.
all part of, delivering value. This show, people get to get additional value. But in terms of the selling versus relationship, you want to think about, when you create your programs, you want to make sure you're creating offers and not just like having this individual product, and you want to showcase your offer, and you want to make sure you're building relationships. And then I want to mention pricing.
Mm.
So
Number
when you think
four for the audience, pricing. A lot of
pricing,
us have the wrong pricing. So tell
yes.
us the right pricing.
The right pricing really depends on what you're offering. And so a lot of what you are going to do is sit down and think about, what value am I delivering this person? What am I offering them? What value will they
Mhm.
get in the end? And that determines pricing, because you want to make sure everybody wants high value programs, right? Everybody wants to charge these high ticket prices, but you have to make sure you're delivering enough value in your offer
I
to
will tell
actually
you
warrant.
something where I made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to advice, and it works for some people, and certain advice doesn't work for others, other programs, right? So it's not necessarily bad advice. It's just it doesn't work within my world, right? And so I had a my pilot program. I had it for $350 a month, one meeting a month, this and that, and it looks great for like some email resolution coaching, but not for LinkedIn coaching, because
Mm-hmm.
it's a different type of involvement. And I was getting all these people, and they would quit. About 25% of them would quit after a month or two, because they just wouldn't do the work. And I realized I was pricing it wrong, because they didn't see the value, and they're the wrong type of client. And I said, okay, well, why don't I just charge like 1,800 because someone else is charging 5,000 for a 12-week program? I said that seems to be more appropriate, and it's not once a month. It's 6 weeks. It's a lot more condensed. And if you're paying a couple $1,000s for a program, you're just not gonna say, I don't feel like doing it. You invested the money to do it, and so you're bringing in the people that are actually going to do what they need to do in order to get it done. Unless you just got like money like that, and you just you know
Yeah, yeah.
so I think that is one major issue. I was not charging, and that's not $1,800, still not a lot, but I think it's good for introductory and to get their attention for a amount of time.
And there's a couple of things that can determine pricing. I mean, you look at your offer, and don't be afraid to maybe not come out the gate, especially with a new program. You may want to have a beta run of your program, tweak
Hmm.
it, work with some clients, get their feedback so that you can better improve your program, because no one, you don't know how well your clients are going to receive your program. You don't know the end
Hmm.
result until you actually deliver it.
Yeah.
And
Well, you can
every
get some indicators
you
if
can
you
get some
have, like
indicators,
I have a lot of clients that have some similar work, and so I kind of know what works better in general, in certain areas.
right? But for new
But
people, they don't know, they don't have that knowledge yet. So if you're developing your
Mhm.
first high value
um,
program, you're not going to know what works yet.
yeah, I had some feedback that says, "Why is it pilot program? Are you going to teach me how to fly?" I said, "Yeah, this is the wrong customer for this one."
Well, yeah, and you don't, the messaging, again, the messaging now, it's a beta program, but you don't need to necessarily share with your clients. It's that you're
Yeah.
doing a beta program. And so let's say maybe your in game is to charge 5 grand for that program.
Yeah.
So maybe the first run you maybe charge, 2 grand,
Yeah.
3 grand, and work out the kinks first in your program, because your clients are going to tell you, what, I really wish that I had this
Mm.
element in this program,
Hmm.
or I don't think we had enough of this. And it's up to you to decide what feedback you're going
Hmm.
to incorporate into your
Yeah, because you
program
can't
and
do
what you have to go.
everything. You can't do everything. You have to figure
Correct.
out what is the core needs in order for that particular type of client to be most successful.
Yeah. And a lot of times,
Has to
maybe.
have, and like to have.
Right. And a lot
Yeah.
of times the transformation or what you're expecting from your clients, maybe you didn't allow enough time for it, or maybe
Hmm.
you need to dial it back a little bit and
Hmm.
think of an interim point, that you can achieve with the client in the period of time of your program. So you have to think of, there's a lot that goes into pricing. So
Hmm.
you really have to kind of sit and think about, what is it you're offering? it can't just be, oh, I want 2 grand, so that's what I'm gonna charge. You have to look at the value of your offer. You have to look at, what are you actually helping them do? And there's other factors as well. So and
And you,
you
you
have to
brought up
get
an
that.
interesting point that
Mhm.
a lot of people may not be able to do what you're asking. Maybe what you are asking is simple to you, but
Yes.
extremely complicated because it's a brand new thing to them.
So maybe you need to, maybe there's like if you're having developing a coaching program or a consulting program, maybe there's this gap in knowledge that you need to fill that with information. You need to make sure you cover that
Mm-hmm.
because, why aren't they connecting? Why aren't they
Yeah.
getting the results that you want them to get?
Yeah,
And
sometimes you're requiring people to like connect dots that they're just not used to thinking that way, you know?
right.
And that comes up to like, well, is this the right client for that type of program? You know, because I tend to want to work with people that will challenge me, you
Hmm.
know, and push back, but also implement. And I find the people who actually implement what you're asking, they're a little more on the rare side because some people just want stuff done they don't want, but they don't want to
Right.
pay for it. That's a done for you service. That's different than than I would teach you how to do it and then help you do it, you know.
Yeah, you have that group too. So you have to know what the needs are. And this kind of goes back to,
Mm,
your offer, creating that offer. You
mm-hmm.
know, not every, am I creating done for you versus, something else like group coaching, or there's all different ways to deliver results to your clients. You have to figure out what is it that you want to do.
Right,
So
definitely.
and that's why I said there's so many different factors. Like, and so generic advice doesn't work for what you need to, how you need to price your program. You need to sit down. You need to look at your program. You need to look at your, how you're delivering results. So let's talk about like, strategy. So to
Oh,
know.
I'm wearing the same shirt, look.
I
I just have
don't know if people
that
would
picture was done. I
really.
was on a dating show. I was on a dating show, Atlanta dating show, and they fired me on the first episode, and that was a shot from that.
What did you do, Troy, to get fired from a
I'm
dating show?
bluntly honest. I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. Like, you know what I like? I just told them. I
Okay.
think they were just razzing me, you know, they're testing me and, you know, they want me to play the game. And I have no patience for this. I said, look, I have to pick my daughter up at a certain time. I told you guys what I like, and you brought me totally the thing I didn't like.
Oh my gosh.
They
Well, that was
totally
definitely.
fired me the first show.
Oh,
But
I think
strategy. Sorry for the sidebar. I never really should have done.
your audience is learning way too much about
Yeah, it
you and
was.
Slack.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
strategy. So your strategy is really being intentional about what you're doing in your business. It's not like working on a fly. So whether it's marketing, whether it's, program development, whatever it is, you have to have a strategy. And so specifically around, goal setting and planning. So when I first, started my business, and despite all of my education and knowledge, I have a master's degree, and you could easily think you know everything, when you you ever met the overly educated. So, I actually, when, making the transition, I had a lot of knowledge in terms of I'm the expert of the program I want to develop and create. But in terms of putting it together, not so much. I
Hmm.
need to plan out what I need to do, and I need to set goals for myself. And the only way you can accomplish your goals is if you actually set them. If you don't set
Yeah.
goals, you don't establish them, what is it that you're expecting to get? So the same is the case for marketing.
Oh,
What are your goals when you go on the platform? What is your goal if you're
that's
coming
a
on to
good point. You
LinkedIn?
know, I think a
Yeah.
lot of it, including myself, I like when I'm posting stuff, I just want to provide value.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I need to slow down and figure out, well, what are my goals with it? I do have a day-to-day process where I have a general goal, but maybe writing those goals out would make it more specific, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Another thing too is achieving those goals. I find that things work really well in 13 weeks, you know, like there's 3 months basically.
Mm-hmm.
And in 3 months is a small enough time to set some goals and to actually achieve some goals versus a 1 year goal or a 5 year goal. Because what happens usually after 3 months, you said, oh, I won't veer off those goals too much, but now I can make a shift here or make a shift there. And that seems to be working really well. But you had a great point. Everything you do, not just do because of the daily process. Of course, you want to do A, B, and C to convert some of those individuals to better conversations. But what specific goals should I obtain? What do I really want to do to make those happen? Is a great point.
Yeah.
I'm learning stuff, Michelle. You're learning stuff about me and me being fired off a show,
A dating show, let's be
a dating
specific.
show. Yeah. And I'm learning about actually writing these goals down. So.
Yeah. And so, for the people that are, tuning into the live, whether they're here now or they're going to catch it on the replay, think about, what are my client numbers? How many clients do I want to serve,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this program or annually? How much revenue am I trying to make?
Hmm.
And if you don't think about these things, you're going
Yeah.
to keep missing your mark. You're
Yep.
you're going to
Yep.
glide right past it. Same thing with KPIs. How do I know when I'm doing, well? How do I know? What are my numbers? What numbers do I need to see
Hmm.
in my business? What numbers should I even be monitoring?
I will tell you a little bit about my strategy just on the LinkedIn portion. Is like figuring out where my communication channel paths are. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's LinkedIn, but LinkedIn's huge. So
Mm-hmm.
how you communicate can be different channels. And so I have, of course, my show here, right? I serve a larger audience, and I'll end up getting X amount of views on that and actually providing value to that audience. So I consider that networking.
Mm-hmm.
So I have group networking, other people show your podcast, in-person networking, all that stuff is group type of networking, right? Then I have my actual post, and then I have my conversations on my direct messages, and I have overlap strategies,
Mm-hmm.
maybe from a post, a conversation to a DM if appropriate. And so having these strategies are really important because if that, you might as well just run out in the street and throw your hands up and like, everyone like me, come on, get to know
Yeah.
me. I want to be your friend, and be a weirdo.
And I think when you think about it, I think people aren't establishing a strategy because they don't know how.
Right.
They don't know how to sit down and really map out these things. And that's when,
Yeah.
having a coach comes in. And and you may want to think about, what are your goals for your business as well, and that's part of the planning part, because I had sticker shock, and I had a lot of shocks when I moved from my career into business.
Oh,
One was
you're referring to like how, like the cost of doing business, the
not just
cost of marketing, the cost
not
of
just that, but
getting
the
help to do
how,
stuff.
the different elements, the fact that how important systems are,
Mm.
how
Because when you had a
important.
job, a lot of these things were just built into the business. So
Right.
you're
And
just you're just following the process they give you versus creating a process that will help you in your own business.
I always say it's one thing to walk into something, it's another thing to develop. It's a whole different mindset.
Mm.
And so the planning helps you develop, because, when I
Hmm.
first made the transition, I underestimated how much it would cost, because a lot of what does that is the information that you consume online.
Hmm.
You're consuming, and you think, and you're not taking the time to think.
Well,
So,
and also, people want to work with you because there's a differentiation between you and this other person that does
correct.
something similar to you.
Hmm.
And you have to have that it factor. You have to have that thing that, like, you know what, this is cool, but I'm gonna go with Michelle because I
Right.
like. And sometimes it's almost untangible, that intangible thing. But I believe Michelle. Michelle has helped X amount of people, and I'm sure that she can help me figure out some of these things because during this conversation, you've told me stuff that I kind of know, But by hearing it out of your mouth, I said, you know what, that should be a priority, you know? And so this is information that's really valuable, these 5 areas. I know we're running really short on time. We're over our close or over to our hour right now. And
Okay.
so
Time flies when you're having fun.
I know, right? A lot of stuff is me blabbing, you know, but definitely, you know, I get the resources and consultation. Just make your conversations count, right? And I keep it simple. This is Michelle's thing, and this is Troy's thing, right? And so one thing that Michelle is doing, and what I'll do after the live, I'll go back and add the link, and on your live, you'll do the same, or give me, you know, access to your live, and I'll start replying to people's questions. Feel free to ask any questions you want on the live. And I should have started with that, so I apologize. Feel free, because we will answer it, and then you'll get a message back from us, because we want to answer your questions. We want to engage. It's hard to do two things at once, you know. But Michelle has a free high ticket service checklist. It will allow you to start thinking and formulating. So click on that link, and then it's how does that work? They'll go ahead and click on that link, and it's Michelle Davison nyc.com/work with me.
Right.
Tell me
So,
what that is. I kind of made it up. I'm thinking I know what it is, but I'm not sure.
right. So, I actually made an error. I meant to, it's actually, if you want a direct link to what I have is a free high ticket service checklist and also a training.
Hmm.
Um, if you know it, I'll make sure it's on the homepage and also on this work with me page, but that way people will go directly to the offer. So if you don't see it initially when you go head over, just check back. I'll make sure after this live, I'll put it up on that page.
Oh, and I think this PDF, the slideshow, it's already posted, so we might want to put a note on that as well. So I'll give a link of this whole slideshow if they want to download it. You know.
Right. Yeah. But it's a free download, a free training. I
Hmm.
walk you through, just how do you develop your first high ticket service? And
Exciting.
you can either, take the information and go off on your own and do it, or you can connect with me further, and I share with you in the training how to do that. There's also, if you want to reach out to me, you can do so at, I recently kind of updated a lot of stuff, but you
Oh,
can reach,
okay, okay.
yeah, but
So there's not a mistake. It's just maybe an older link.
you can actually DM me
I'll
on
connect with her.
LinkedIn, and yeah, connect with me. I'm happy to connect. And if you want to, if there's a question that you forgot to ask in this live, and maybe you want to connect with me or Troy directly, feel free to do that too. If you want to
If
inquire
you're gonna
about my
connect with
service.
us, though, just say, "Hey, I saw you on the show. Love to connect." Just so we know that you're not a spammer. I get a lot of people that I don't connect with, because they're trying to sell me something IT service because they think I need help or something.
Yeah, without
And
really
I
knowing what
don't
you need
really.
in your business.
Did you look at my profile?
Yeah.
I get a lot. 20% of it, I got a lot of people that will help me with LinkedIn. Like they don't even
Yeah,
look at my
insane.
stuff.
They don't
You
even
know,
take the time to look. They're just trying to
no.
sell.
I
And
said,
that goes
I
into,
think we could help you out with LinkedIn. I'm like, oh, thank you.
well, so that's my thing, a high
Yeah.
ticket service checklist. It's also, in addition to the download, you get a free training, and I walk you through every kind
Oh,
of,
that's
a
good.
lot of what I talked about today, but really specifically related to developing your first high ticket service.
I wish I met you before I did my pilot program. Because I'll be honest with you, I put together. I said this sounds cool, and I
And a
put it
lot of people do
together.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I put it together. I mean, I do have a vast amount of experience doing stuff, but yeah, I totally made a mistake with that 350 a month off. That 350 should be on the tail end if they need additional support to keep on track. That makes sense at that point. My thing is that book some time with me, pick the 15-minute option, and I'll give you a daily guide to help reduce your time and increase your conversion. So I will help you get in and get out of LinkedIn because you don't want to be there all day. You know, you have a business to run. So figure out what are the most important things that you have to do and what converts the easiest and how to build those relationships. And if you have any just LinkedIn questions in general, feel free. It's a free 15-minute consultation. All right. Well, thank you, Michelle, again. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you.
Yeah, yeah, and thank you, audience. And I do appreciate it. And we'll have a next show fairly soon. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.